Yes, I will represent myself. I am a member of Ukrainian Parliament. Before coming to the subject matter of our panel, let me make two observations which has the direct relevance to the subject of our panel. First, I think that the outgoing year 2014 will enter into the history as the year of the collapse of the world peace order and the beginning of the new Cold War era. And of course this this is already affecting the policy of Eastern Partnership of the European Union. A second point I would like to make that in his famous work A Clash of Civilization, Samuel Huntington, a famous American politologist from Harvard, was speaking about the clash of civilization, having in mind that there will be a clash of civilizations because of the differences in religious affiliation. So I think that Samuel Huntington was partly right, because what we see now the clash of civilization, but based not on affiliation to the religions, but this is the clash of civilizations in the terms of values. So now what we see in the current world, the clash of civilization representing values, human rights, democracy, market economy, and everything which is the basis of both European Union and NATO, and the clash with the representatives of other values, country values, which is being represented, accumulated by Russia. So the reason why I said about these two things was because they have a direct relevance to the Eastern policy, Eastern Partnership policy, and it will be correct to say that we must praise our friends from Poland and Sweden, who introduced in the European Union, advocated, and later managed to have a success in establishing Eastern Partnership policy, which was a kind of correction of the so-called European neighborhood policy, which was absolutely conceptually incorrect policy. And now we have the Eastern Partnership policy, which is the step in the right direction, but the question mark whether we have the chance to realize this policy. I think that the policy of Eastern Partnership between the European Union and 6 Eastern partner countries happened to become under attack by the third party, by Russia. And Russia, doing its aggression against Ukraine and war, have not only took this adventurous policy towards Ukraine, but it also pressure and exert pressure and intimidation against other Eastern European partners of the European Union, having in mind Armenia, Moldova and Georgia. And in this regard, let me come back to the beginning of this conference. There was a message read by a representative on behalf of the foreign minister, which I disagree with, because in this message we heard the term, the crisis in Ukraine, in southeastern Ukraine. So which is, to my mind, is absolutely incorrect message, not only to us members of this conference, but to the society. If we are talking about the crisis in Ukraine, that means that there is internal crisis in Ukraine, and let Ukraine deal with this internal crisis, instead of recognizing that this is a result of aggression and occupation by Russia. Because otherwise you have to invent absolutely different approaches in coping with this phenomena. If this is an internal Ukrainian crisis, so let Ukraine deal with this crisis, and this is not our headache. This is headache of Ukrainians. If you are talking about the aggression and the war against a European country, which, by the way, contributed a lot into the not only European but global security by agreeing to destruct the third largest nuclear potential we have inherited from the former Soviet Union. So, and I would remind everybody in this audience and everywhere outside that Ukraine contributed a lot into the global peace and security by reducing by 1/3 the nuclear potential and nuclear threat in the globe. And to finish with this, I would also like to remind you that Ukraine was and is the only country, non-NATO country, which has and is participating in all NATO-led operations. So why I am talking about this? Because I'm trying to remind you that Ukraine is not the country which is somewhere in the suburbs of Europe doing nothing for the European and global security. And why should we, well, I'm not mentioning the country, but why should we enter and support Ukrainians? Either by sending armaments to help Ukrainians, brave Ukrainians, to defend not only our own country, Ukraine, but to defend the values and principles on which the European Union and NATO are being based, and having contributed a lot into the European and global security. So I think that in this sense, this is the NATO and European Union, together with Washington, owe a lot to Ukraine in terms of helping Ukraine to defend its country. Also, I would like to say that reaction of our partners, be it in NATO or, let me remind you that we have a charter on a distinctive partnership between Ukraine and NATO signed back in 1997. And reaction of our partners was with different success. I mean, against Russia, attacking not only Ukraine but all partners, Eastern European partners of the European Union, all those who are being embraced in the term Eastern Partnership. And if we look at the reaction from, let us say, European Union, is European Union adequate enough in its reaction against the attack by Russia on Eastern Partnership policy? To my mind, no. Let me bring to your attention the example of Ukraine. In Ukraine, we finished the agreement, association agreement, with the political association and economic integration with the European Union. And after Russia exerted pressure and intimidation against Ukraine and European Union surprisingly was ready to succumb. And as a result, association agreement in its part of free trade area is going to be implemented only at the end of next year, the year 2015. So probably Irina Sologubinga disagrees with me, but I will say that this is the Ukrainians who are being allowed by the European Union on a unilateral basis to make our export. But what about import? So why I am talking about this? Because, you know, the dozens of Ukrainian oligarchs are benefiting from Ukrainian export to the European Union without duties. But millions of Ukrainians are paying the price for the goods coming for import from the European Union without any reductions of duties. So that's why I do emphasize that the European Union demonstrated a weakness before aggressive Russia. in, among other things, Eastern Partnership policy. Well, I will not describe the reaction from different countries of Eastern Partnership. Ukraine is unilaterally defending our country and the values of the European Union, NATO, and of Eastern Partnership without any factual military assistance. Georgia went through this aggression in 2008 and still, like Moldova, are subject of Russian pressure and intimidation to do the same as they did to Ukraine. And Armenia, unfortunately, gave up and decided to distance from Eastern Partnership and to join a custom union with Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. So these are the results of Russian aggressive policy against Eastern Partnership. Now Eastern Partnership looks like a differentiated group of countries, and this is beyond the policy and the will of the European Union itself. We have now the group of 3 countries, which was already described here, seeking and wishing to implement their objective, foreign policy objective, to join European Union sometime in the future, and 3 countries which are not, neither have the intention nor the ability to do this. And so this, of course, will influence the current and future perspectives of Eastern Partnership policy. Well, the perspectives we are discussing will depend on 3 factors. First factor, European Union, what European Union can and will to do, the Eastern European partners, and Russia. So, and in this regard, to my mind, the 2 first elements, this is European Union and Eastern partners, so if they will demonstrate the ability to oppose adventurous policy of Russia and concentrate on ways to success, so this may be a success story. If not, this will be a favor and the success of Russian adventurous policy. I would like to pose the questions to our panelists and to the audience. Are European Union and the United States ready to give adequate answer to the threat Russia is posing? Have doubts. Who is capable to stop acting according to the scenario written in Kremlin and imposed by Kremlin? Well, to my mind, there is no international subject who is capable of countering this policy of Russia. Is European Union ready to reflect its policy of Eastern Partnership in its financial plans? I mean here a very pragmatic issue. How much the European Union is going to pay for the Eastern Partnership policy? Is it a priority for the European Union or not? I have doubts. Thank you very much.